So, Rich, welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited about having you on this show because you have 30 plus years of experience in recruiting. You've been named in the Forbes top 20 list of recruiting companies in the US, which is really impressive. That's so cool to have you here and to learn from your experience. A lot of people are transitioning from non-tech to IT, and they are also wondering how to start their career. So I'm sure you will share some interesting insights. So thanks for being here.
Sure. Hey, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think Tuesday it comes out. We'll be for the fifth year in a row. We've been in the top 50 in the U.S. out of 38,000 firms, and being a solo recruiter, and I think I've been as high as number 11. It's a pretty cool honor when it's voted on by clients and peers and what have you. So
Wow.
cool. But we're excited to be here and help out.
Awesome. And now when you mentioned that there are 38,000 recruiting companies in the US alone, how can one actually stand out? You are number 11 or 12 out of 38,000. What do you do to differentiate yourself on the market?
I always wonder what I do different, to be honest with you, as well. And I think it's the fact that I deliver. Like when clients use me, one, you master your niche, you become well known in a small niche, and you become, the best at it. And two, you deliver. I mean, so many recruiters I see, they deliver garbage. They send crap candidates that have no business being sent, just wasting clients' time. You've got to. I take an approach that, listen, I mean, my time is super valuable. I make a lot of money, and I probably make more than most of my clients. In fact, I know I make more than most of my clients, and therefore, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. I don't waste the candidate's time. So when I send people out, they get interviewed. Like, it's very rare I'll send a resume out that doesn't get an interview and get to the next round. It's but I get calls from recruiters and even split partners, where I'll talk to clients, and they'll just tell me, these last recruiters, they just send garbage. If someone says a keyword on the resume, they send it out. They don't screen, they don't do any legwork. They just, nope, let's send it out and hope for the best. And then they wonder why they suck at recruiting. I mean, it's really that simple. You should take a little pride in your work, is the easiest answer. I mean, then there's a lot of marketing and stuff that you do. Like, I post a lot on LinkedIn, create a lot of videos, a lot of content. But most importantly, I'm always talking to clients, always talking to candidates. Good times or bad times, you're building rapport for the future. There may be, I mean, I've had candidates I've talked to for a decade that I never placed, but eventually the guy got in a hiring position and he uses me for a ton of roles. You're always trying to add and give instead of take. And most recruiters just want to take. Most salespeople just want to take. And it doesn't build long-term reciprocity, doesn't build long-term, value for anyone. So, you give when you can.
It's interesting how you talk about the long-term game, and you've been doing this for 30 years. So, you know what you are talking about, and a lot of recruiters go for some quick wins. Yet it's kind of, now it feels like easy for you to say, hey, my time is valuable. I don't want to waste clients' time. I don't want to waste the candidates' time. And it's kind of believable, right? Because you are there with 30 years of experience, clients know you. But what can someone who is just starting out do? Like, how they can build this level of confidence? Because from my experience, people in our community, they often kind of lack the confidence. They are begging for the job to work on, and then they want to at least send some candidates. Often they jump from one role to another because they don't know enough to screen candidates. So what should they do?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the same thing. When I started in this business, I was 23, and I worked for management recruiters for 6 months and then went on my own. I was 23 and a half, essentially. And now I'm, 28 and a half. So I guess if the half matters, I suppose. But I closed 2 deals my 10th day on the job. And, net new client, new space, new market, new everything for management recruiters. And you treat it the same way. You have to, when you're young and new at this job, there's no reason you don't have confidence other than in your own head. It's your own self-fulfilling belief. and there's different confidence that I have now than I had then. Then it was, a lot more faux confidence about, hey, listen, you know, this, I've got what, it was definitely a little bit more timid, but at the same time, I'm like, I listened to what the client wanted. And then crazy, I delivered what the client wanted. If you listen and deliver and you ask the right questions, there's no reason not to be confident. And it doesn't mean arrogant and egotistical. It means delivering something you're assured you asked for this, I brought this. You ordered a hamburger, I gave you a hamburger. Not a hot dog because I was out of a hamburger. This was easier to bring. So when you're young and starting, it's the same concept. It's listen, ask the questions. It's even better when you're young because you can truly just say, hey, listen, I'm new. All right, client, people love to help. All right. And you can say, listen, I'm new. I know that I don't want that to scare you, but listen, being that I'm new at this, I need to make sure this works. All right. I can give you my full attention. I don't have 30 clients right now. I need to build my client base. All right. I know how to find people. I've been practicing. I've been working with these other guys, been helping other recruiters. This is what I need to know. Let me get that information and ask. If you don't understand something, ask. Like salespeople think they need to know everything. You don't. All right. You're going to be more believable. You're going to ask you ask questions. If you just shake your head and say yes, 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 and then you have no clue what you're looking for, what did you just do? You wasted your time, their time, everyone's time involved.
Yeah.
So just listen. There's no shame in not knowing something. I mean, it's great to learn how to Google certain things, like you should look up what that company does before you talk to them, what that person's role is that you're talking to, their LinkedIn profile, basic stuff. But about the role, it's okay to ask. It's okay to say you're new. Hey, I just transitioned from this. I was doing this before. Everyone's been there. Most people didn't start at the top. So don't feel like you've got to know everything when you know nothing.
Yeah, that's true. The honesty and transparency can win someone's heart. So
Absolutely.
totally makes sense.
And listen, you have clients like my first client in software. I'm still friendly with today, 20 plus, 28 years later, essentially, because they knew they were my first client. They knew I treated them like gold and they treated me well. And we always work out, things always work out together. So, but I am a huge believer of authenticity. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be a superhero. You don't need to prove that, if someone's looking for this, complete crazy search, it's okay to tell them that, once you've done the search for a little bit and say, look, this doesn't exist, or the specs don't work, the salary doesn't work. You want someone that's in this location from these three companies. I have this situation going on right now, and I'm like, no one in those three companies, there's no one worth sending to you. And honestly, it may piss the client off, like in my case, but it's okay. It's the reality of it. If he wants to hire someone from that company, that's great. It's probably not going to come from me because chances are that person's not going to work out. So, and that's what I told the client. You want to hire him, hire him. I'm like, but if I send him to you today, you're just going to want your money back tomorrow anyway. So there's really no point in my time. And I think you're crazy for hiring him. So, personal business choice, but that's how I handle it.
Interesting.
It's hard to argue with honesty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
and then what would you do in the next phase of recruiting? Because it also happened to me a few times when I or my colleagues send a candidate to a client. At first, they are very excited. They share the job spec and everything, and then they take forever to interview the candidate. They take forever to respond. And then we are there like, oh my God, what do we do with this client? At some point, we don't want to be seen as annoying and then push them every other day with follow-up messages. But if they are not responding, then at which point do you say like, okay, we part ways for this?
Yeah, my clients typically know if I don't hear from them within, 48, 72 hours, I send them a note and say, listen, I'm putting the search on hold. Let me know when you're serious. I'll let the candidate know, and we'll move on to the next one. Thanks for the retainer. If they gave me a retainer, that's it. Your time is valuable. If your goal is to make $1 million a year, well, figure out what that is by an hour. It's like $500 an hour. So every hour you waste working on a search that's going nowhere, well, you're going nowhere. And, you know, and I tell the candidates the truth. If my client's slow, I tell them the candidate, my client's slow. You know, this is what happens. This is what's going on. I'm not going to burn my reputation for a bad client. You know, that just got, I've got that situation going on now, but my client's been very transparent about the delay. So I understand. I don't like it, but I understand, you know. And I told the candidate, so you keep the candidate warm and happy and say, listen, it's not that they're not interested. This XYZ is going on. You know, we're moving as quick as we can. You know, so I mean, again, everyone wants to make every issue in recruiting like complete black and white, and it's not. Like 99% of recruiting is in that gray area. You know, not every situation's the same. Not every client's the same. You know, there's always different reasons why, you know, you give one company more leniency than another. So, you know, so I mean, that's how I handle it. If I don't like the client or I think they're just not getting back to me at all, I just send them a note and say, listen, let me know when you're serious. We'll kick things back up. You know, if they haven't paid a retainer, then I ask them for an engagement fee. If they don't want to pay that, we move on.
So,
you know?
I mean, this is kind of okay-ish with the retained search setup where you get at least, let's say, 30% or 50% of the initial fee. What should recruiters do in case of full contingent search? Like usually they spend days or weeks searching for candidates and then they pretty much wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do full retainer. I just do an engagement fee. So I'll take like $10,000 up front. Number one. Two, you know, if you're working a contingent search and it's taking you more than a couple of days to find a candidate, it's probably not a great search, or you don't know your market. So you always want to send that test balloon out as quick as possible, or you want to call the client with a question on day 2 or 3 and say, hey, listen, I'm running into this. What are your thoughts? See if the guy gets back to you. Again, if they don't get back to you, well, that's telling, isn't it? You know, and then you want to find out, hey, do they work better by email, by text, by phone? And, you know, all those are great, but eventually, you know, they do need to get on the phone with you at some point to go over candidates and for feedback. You know, feedback over email or text is so at best. You miss the full nuance when it's not, you know, a live conversation. So, and again, you know, listen, if you're working with companies that don't respect your job or they don't think recruiting is important, then you're wasting your time. Because however a client sees you or how a client treats you is how they're going to treat the people you place there.
Yeah. So,
you know, do you want to be known as the recruiter who just throws people into every dumpster fire they find, or do you want to be the recruiter who knows, hey, this guy always, when Rich calls, I take his call because he always tells me of great opportunities, whether they work out or not. You know, that's the reputation I have. Is when I call, people take my call. This is what I use as part of my pitch. When I get new clients, is like my candidates take my calls because they know I don't work with junky companies. You know, I don't work with executives that treat people like dirt. I don't work with candidates that are arrogant or egotistical. So people know when I send people their quality, when I send them out to a company, it's quality. So, and, you know, to some that's important, to some it's not. And the ones that aren't important with, you know, again, you treat everything accordingly. It doesn't mean, you know, not every client's got to be your best friend and not every client's worth your time.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And now so many questions pop in my mind as you just talk. One that we could probably clarify for people who are not aware of all these little nuances with regards to the payments, like contingent, retained, and you mentioned the engagement fee. So is this fee that you charge kind of no matter what, or is it a deduction from the eventual placement fee?
Yeah, so normally it's a deduction. They'll deduct it from the end fee. So it's basically I call it a partnership fee because, you know, those who pay money up front, they're serious about the search. You're generally not running around competing against other recruiters. Generally, sometimes you do. I got a client now that's paying 2 different firms an engagement fee.
Nice.
I don't understand why, but whatever, because it's use it or lose it. So doesn't really make sense. But hey, that's what he did. He told me. I'm like, okay, your funeral, but whatever. He's a good guy. His search is proving to be a little crazy, um, but yeah, no, I charge the engagement fee up front. So generally $10,000 up front, and then it comes off the back end of the fee. So if it's a $40,000 fee, they owe me another $30,000.
Mhm.
Uh, but it keeps people real for the most part and keeps them honest. And, it's rare that I don't fill an engaged search, whereas a contingent search, I don't even know what the number is, probably 50, 60% that I fill. Most of them, they just go, they go away. They just die. Clients
Mhm.
go, change the specs, put the spec on hold, whatever we've all run into.
Yeah.
But you might as well work on it. I mean, you got to ask yourself: would you rather work on 5 opportunities that are serious, where you've got money up front, or 20 opportunities that
No.
you may or may not close? You get nothing for your time. You may be one of 10 recruiters working on it.
Mm.
You know,
Of
it,
course, of course.
I'd rather get 5 real ones personally.
Mm.
Better odds. I mean, knowing you're going to probably have a 95% chance of closing all 5 of those versus, if you're lucky, maybe you close 5, maybe you close 10. I don't know. It depends how good a recruiter you are, but maybe those are bad numbers to use as an example, but you get the idea. but, you know,
Of
uh,
course.
but principle's the same. So,
Of course. So some recruiters who are now watching this on YouTube or listening to this podcast, they may wonder, okay, so what does this mean for me? I'm here. I just transitioned to tech recruiting. I start working on Java development roles or cloud engineer or cybersecurity or whatever. I want to get a client, but they push back. They don't want to pay engagement fee or retain search. They just want to send me the job, right? Like usually there is a pushback to not pay anything upfront. And of course, for you, kind of it's easy to push back with your 30 years of experience. But what should someone who is just starting out do? How to kind of overcome this
yeah.
challenge?
Listen, I still get it. I mean, it's not like they don't care that I've been doing it for 30 years. Until you solve their pain, they could care less if it's a net new client. I mean, obviously, the best way to get to any client is through a referral or someone opening the door for you. But I mean, listen, I take on half my fees are probably contingent, half are engaged. But the ones that I truly work on are the engaged ones. There's money down, and I tell them that. Those who are serious, they put money down. Those who aren't serious, they do contingent and see what happens. There's a higher fee for contingent, a lower fee for putting some money up front because we want a partner, and you obviously put some value and some seriousness into the search, into this opportunity. So that's one way, to get the engagement fee. But listen, I mean, sometimes you get a client that you just love everything about them. You love the company, you love the people, you love the process. They're going to use you exclusively, or so they say. You roll the dice. I mean, listen, contingent's not bad. I did contingent, for probably 60%, 70% of my career. Before it wasn't until 2017 that I switched to ever did an engaged fee.
Mm.
But it's if you ask, it's amazing what they'll give you. So you ask. Worst they're going to say is no, or they'll say why. Why should we do it with you? Why? What's the offer? But listen, I mean, fighting for fees never goes away. You could do this for 100 years. You're still going to fight for fees. No one cares about how good you are unless you've done it for them. And even then, they don't generally. I don't say they don't care, but oftentimes, that manager doesn't have the ability to give you an engagement fee. It's got to go through finance or CEO if you're doing startups or whatever it might be. So anyhow, I mean, there's a lot of ways to position the contingent versus engagement, but I mean, again, you're always selling the process. Like we're building a house right now, and it's like we're interviewing builders. The guy that we've loved the most is the guy that really walked us through his process. How does he do these things? How does he really come about the numbers he's giving us? The guys we hated were like, hey, listen, we're pretty sure this is the number. You know, we can get started tomorrow. I mean, one paints a great picture. One's like, hey, let's just hurry up and grab the cash. You
Mm.
know, um, So when you're selling yourself, you got to sell the value you're bringing. You got to sell the process that you use to be successful, or that you were trained on if you've been trained as a recruiter. I mean, that's a big piece of the image. I mean, you're selling, a luxury service essentially. So you gotta. I don't want to say you have to act it, because I am pretty nonchalant about stuff and not very formal, but you need to convey that, listen, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to solve your problem. I'm going to let you sleep at night, and I'm going to send you 3 candidates. You're going to want to hire 2 of them, or try to hire 2 of them. It's the kind of the message you want to convey.
Nice.
So,
It's really cool how you position it as a luxury premium service that we do or we deliver in recruiting. That's very cool. And you are working as a solopreneur. You mentioned before we kicked it off. As a part of the kind of sales process, you cannot really say, for example, hey, we have here a team of 20 recruiters, right? You are really just selling yourself and your assets and your processes.
Yeah.
So for someone who is just starting, let's say someone who is in Belgium, who is focused on cybersecurity recruiting, like how they should think about them being on the market. You mentioned already one clue, the process that they have been trained. What could be some other selling point that they can use while pitching to a client?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that I use for all the time is the fact that, listen, if I take the search on, I'm doing the search. It's not some junior guy at a big firm. It's not like, hey, Heidrick and Struggles, who they've got, 1,000 recruiters and who are doing this. They're going to give it to your search for the junior guy. That's what they do with all their searches. The partners go and bring the business in, and then the guy just right out of college is the guy that's starting off in your search. And it's going to cost you a lot more money. And don't forget, if you're going after a big company, they're also going to have non-competes. They already have clients in your space. Just find out who they are, because they can't pull from those companies. I can. I've done, if you're new, maybe you've done 20 placements, and you have, whatever, 10, 15, 20 clients, where Heidrick and Struggles, they've got thousands of companies they can't pull from. So now you got a limited pool for a lot more money than I'm going to charge you. It doesn't seem like a great purchase to me, but hey, you do what you got to do. Eyes and O's. I don't take on things I can't fill. If, again, goes back to my earlier statement. It's like, listen, I don't do things that are going to waste my time. And I'm not going to waste your time because of that. And if that's important to you, I'd love to get started and love to help out.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, when you mentioned the non-compete or no poach agreement, it just totally makes sense, right? Because now I can imagine these big companies having dozens or hundreds of these in place. So it's like a no-brainer. Definitely, recruiters should start using this.
Well, you're going to, generally, you're going to charge less. I mean, like, listen, unless you're going, and as if you're just starting off, you're not going after the CEO of AT&T. I mean, we're all doing, hopefully solid, $100,000 to $200,000+ type role, base salary roles. There's no one you can't find that a bigger firm can't find. At least there's no one I can't find. I can find, I think, just about everyone in my space that's of value. And, you want to build your LinkedIn network up to that fact as well. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's you again, everything's about painting a picture of why your process, what can I convey the confidence that I know what I'm doing, that I'm going to, again, it's all about solving pain. All right. I mean, again, recruiting this job is extraordinarily hard to master. It's easy to do. Anyone can go to LinkedIn and pick up a phone. Getting someone to actually talk to you is another story. Then convincing them to take the interview is another story. And, just like getting the client, it sounds easy until you got to do it. But again, if you paint the right picture of your success and your ability, and more importantly, what's in it for them, and how you're taking, again, their pain away, what's keeping them up at night, it becomes it just becomes a story that writes itself. Listen, spend more time with your family. Do you want to go look through 9,000 resumes? by doing it for yourself or using them, if you just won't even, not even going against another competitor, but it's like if you're doing it yourself or relying on your inside team to do it, good luck. You're getting all the dregs that are just on job boards. You're getting people that you'll have 1,300 resumes by tomorrow from your job post. So in 3 weeks, you'll have 2 people that still aren't qualified because your internal team is still running through that list. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'll send you 3 people. I'll probably have the first one on your desk within a few days. Calibrate from there. But normally I'm pretty on the money. And, I don't use job boards. I don't use Indeed. I don't use anything. I don't post jobs. Everything is done through my network of, trusted top, in my case, trusted top producers. And these people are proven to do what you want done because I only work in your space. Your internal team, I'm going to assume, today they're working on sales, tomorrow they're working on engineers, and then maybe on a customer success person or a product manager. Where's the continuity?
Well, it's just so cool how you kind of subtly mention talent pool or the database or whatever we label it, but just the network of people you have and the access that you have to these professionals, whether it is sales professionals or in our case, it would be the IT professionals. Mm-hmm. So what's the best way to categorize these people? Because I've seen recruiters who just use LinkedIn, but then it's really difficult to find people. I mean, there is this search, of course, but it's kind of difficult to categorize people based on just LinkedIn profiles. So would you suggest to use some, let's say, a spreadsheet or some applicant tracking system or something super complicated? Like what is the...
I mean, I use Crelate, which isn't really set for Europe yet, but I mean, I use Crelate for my database. If you're not using a database to its fullest, you're missing out. I mean, I can do keyword searches. I can search Boolean in my database. I've got like 100,000 people in my database. Wow. From keywords, tags, wherever I want to find them, they're up in a snap, and then I can blast an email out. I can, quickly send an email. I mean, a friend called me yesterday looking for a particular search for a particular type of person that sold into insurance. I sat here, for 45 minutes on a Sunday, and got her 20 candidates, that are all people I've talked to in the last 2 months, people that know insurance. And, I'd be shocked if one, if not 2 of these people don't get hired. Wow. They're excellent candidates, I mean, but that's the power of having a good database and knowing your market. Again, having a trusted network who really knows if I send them someplace or refer someone to them, it's worth their time. So
this is like a dream coming true, when you spend 20, 30 years building the database. What I've seen with some other agencies, they have a database of dozens of thousands of CVs. They may not be candidates anymore. They change names and phone numbers and emails and everything. It's not up to date. It's not categorized. So how do, and the reason probably is because this is the last activity on the to-do list of a lot of people out there, to maintain the database, add tags. I've seen my colleagues kind of, avoid these, like just upload the CV and hope for the best. Like, how do you find the inner strength to maintain the database and keep it up to date and add tags and notes and categorize everything?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's an ongoing basis, but like when I'm talking to people, it pulls in their resume, pulls in their LinkedIn profile. I put in my notes while I type and talk at the same time. And, and then I put the tags in as I'm, saving the record. It takes literally the good database. It takes 2 seconds. I just hired I had a very 15-hour a week admin for years. I just hired a full-time admin that, he's now helping me update the database. But I mean, he's a $5 an hour kind of guy, and I teach him what I'm looking for, and he goes and finds it, and he knows how to update the database. So it's an ongoing process. Like some days, it's literally just if someone was an athlete, here's a list of athletes that are in my database. 600 of them, 1,000 of them, whatever it is, update them. just see where they are today, update their profiles. With Freelate, it's very quick. I mean, it's literally you go to LinkedIn, you click a button, and down, upload the profile. It's super simple to do. I mean, there's a lot of good software out there now. To be able to do that. Like PCR is a good one. I think they're overseas. What was the other one? Recruit. I forget. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I mean, there's some good ones. There's some ones that aren't so great, of course. But it's a million different players in the market.
Of course. And now with AI generating the list of candidates, I'm not even calling them candidates because it's just a list of profiles based on some job rec or job description.
So, I don't think AI is personally there yet for building candidate lists. Every time I see it, I'm on the board for Pinnacle Society, which, if you don't know what Pinnacle Society is, it's like the top 80 recruiters. It used to be just North America. Now we have a couple guys in Canada. Well, we have Canada and Australia. So eventually we'll expand out to Europe and stuff like that too. But it's top producers and blah, blah, blah. But I do, I run the tech, I'm on the board for the tech committee. So I'm always looking at new technology. And honestly, most of it is useless. It's like there's some pretty interesting tools out there. But I find most of them they just build a list for you to go back to LinkedIn that you had the same list for originally, but it looks like maybe there's another cool feature to it or there's a cool buzzword to it, but 99% of it's the same crap you would have found to begin with. That would be an extra step. So I wish there was something much better out there, but I still have not seen it yet.
So with all this evolution, and sooner or later there will be tools that will do some sourcing, probably not as good as your search with your own database, but a lot of recruiters don't have any database, so probably that will be better than nothing. So what do you see as the future of recruiting going forward now with all the technology advancements and how the market has been changing over the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, as the internal recruiters get better, it makes it harder for externals. But I mean, overall, it's about relationships. If you can build good, long-lasting relationships, you'll be fine. But you got to be able to get in there and get known and understand that your value is for these guys is long term. You can't think them today. That will keep your desk running. But I mean, honestly, it's going to be, I think the next 10 years is going to be very interesting for recruiting. With AI sales bots coming very quickly, some are better than others already. It'll be interesting when it does the business with AI searching, will get better. Ultimately, though, you still need the human element to recruiting to be successful on most roles. So, I think we got a ways to go, but it's definitely going to be an interesting journey, I think. And I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you that I knew was accurate.
Well, hopefully the world will still need some salespeople because, you have a database of dozens of thousands of them. So,
well, it was just the sales of these AI sales bots. I mean, I played with some of them. Just they literally can do full on sales calls, like just all of our recruiting calls. You could truly train them to do. The pause between a person's answer and the bot's answer is still a little too long, but that's going to get fixed. I mean, it's going to be interesting, the future for all sales jobs, all jobs, period. I mean, honestly, it's funny. I don't know about in Europe, but like in the States, like I have a son that's going off to college soon. I was like, you should really just go be a plumber or electrician. It's the last job AI and these things are going to take, and in the States, you can't, in the US, I mean, God, plumbers, electricians, I mean, those guys are making, $300 an hour now in some cases. I mean, you can't get them and they always have work. So
that's so true. I was just reading an article about a copywriter from the Bay Area who changed career to be the HVAC technician, for air cons. So it's, I guess, one of those jobs that are not going to be replaced anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Anything that's data driven, it can get replaced super quick. And it'd be the sales part, like all of our sales parts of recruiting. We're safe for a bit, but You know, 20 years from now, I'm not so sure. 10 years from now, I'm probably good, but 20 years, geez, I don't know. It's going to be, it's going to be so interesting what happens with AI. What's it really take over? What roles does it eliminate? And what does it create? You
Mm.
know, I mean, there's been millions of roles eliminated by automation over, the last, 100 years. What's it really going to, usually there's another role that it creates, spin outs of it. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. And there is actually one thing that just popped in my mind as you were talking about the challenges and the relationships. So kind of there are different personas on the market when you as a solopreneur or a recruiter reach out to a prospective candidate. So who would you kind of reach out to? Because usually there is the head of HR or talent acquisition manager or CFO or a co-founder in a company. Like, who are the best people a recruiter or a solopreneur should reach out to get a job rec?
Yeah, listen, I'm an old school recruiter, so I still reach out to the hiring manager. So if you're placing, in my case, a rep, I'm calling the VP of sales or the regional VP of sales. If you're placing engineers, then you're calling that guy's boss. I mean, the guy that can make the decisions is the guy you want to talk to. Usually, talent acquisition will get involved if it's a bigger company, but it's better to have that come from above and have your CEO say, hey, this is the guy I want to use, than you calling into a TA that you don't know and saying, hey, I've got this great new person, you should talk to him. Because talent acquisition people, HR people, love to say no. So you want to be able to go in there with some open-ended questioning and figure out, hey, what can you do to make them your buddy? And again, it's another thing. You start doing email campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns that drip them so they see your name over and over and over again, and eventually they'll call you, maybe. But it doesn't take 100 of them. You just need a dozen good internal partners to be your friend at 12 different companies, and you're going to be plenty busy.
Yeah, that's so true. Sometimes all we need is a good client, just one.
Yeah. That's it. Sometimes it's just, it all starts with one. So
awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So, you are sharing lots of golden insights and golden nuggets, and you are also coaching recruiters. You mentioned before we kicked it off. Yeah. So would you like to kind of tell a bit more about what you do so that people can connect with you if they need
Sure. Yeah. So, through More is Essential, I'm coaching recruiters that are looking to build their brand, build their practice, their desk up, if they're struggling. I mean, a lot of questions are going on today is stuff that, we'll all work on. It's literally tailored to each whatever someone needs. So whether we do group coaching on Thursday mornings, and then there's also one-on-one coaching that we, set up, as works with your schedule and do on a month-to-month basis. But it's really whatever you're struggling with, that's what it's tailored to. So doesn't matter. I mean, like I said, I've covered everything. And then if you work with me, you also get access to some of Trish Tamkin's courses as well, which includes her deep learning stuff on Tuesdays, which like tomorrow it's about creating alternative fee structures and things like that. So, but it's great for anyone if you're solo, it's great to have someone to bounce ideas off of, run things that you're stuck on, to run by, and just get ideas of how do we get better? How do we get out of, your rut of making $100,000 or whatever your goal is? And for me, listen, I mean, I've placed almost 1,100 people in my life. Wow. I've seen a lot over almost 30 years of recruiting. So there's, I say this, but every time I say it, something else does come up. But there's few things I haven't seen. So you can, live and work through my experience. And then with Trish as well and Jason, there's a lot, there's just a lot of knowledge that we can help share and help people, get to that level that they want to get to. I mean, a lot of people just want to start. A lot of people want to get to that $1 million level, and I've done extremely well throughout the years, so I can help people get there. So
super cool. Well, I'll check it out as well. I feel like I need some coaching as well. So
absolutely. So Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me know if you got questions. I mean, honestly, and you can ping me. Either you can go to mooresessential.com or yeah, Facebook's usually the easiest place to get me, to be honest with you, because LinkedIn, I'm actually maxed out on connections. So I just get buried on LinkedIn. So Facebook is usually a little bit easier, to be honest with you. So,
Awesome.
yeah, whatever I can do, let me know.
Awesome. So I'll include the links in the show notes and on YouTube in the description. So thanks a lot for sharing. I mean, it's been awesome to see the confidence, and I'm sure a lot of people who now listened or watched you on YouTube, they are full of energy and they just want to hit the ground running. So thanks for the energy boost and yeah, on all the insights.
Love it. Well, thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.